There we are then going to close a bit later at 8 o'clock. And that is on the 18th and the 23rd of December 2023. In terms of Sunny Pass to Lesotho, normal operating hours is 6 until 6 in the evening, and we shall be closing at 8 o'clock. And that will be on the 15th to the 16th of December, as well as the 21st and the 24th of December. And those are identified as the busy periods. Similarly, Caldon Sport going to Lesotho, operating hours, the normal ones is 6 until 10. And in there, we are also going to close a bit later, midnight, on the 15th to the 16th of December, as well as the 23rd of December and the 2nd of January 2024. But when it comes to the 22nd of December, we had requested that the port must operate on a 24-hour basis. That is on the 22nd of December. In terms of the other ports like Van Rooyen's Gate, the normal operating hours is 6 until 10, and we have requested to close at 12 midnight, that is 15 to 16 December, 24 December, as well as on the 8th of January. In terms of the date of the 23rd of December and the 2nd of January, we have requested to allow the airport to operate on a 24-hour basis. In terms of Mononsa Pass, also to Lesotho, operating hours normal is 5 until 4. There we are then going to close at 6 on the 23rd, the 23rd and the 24th of December 2023, as well as on the 2nd and the 3rd of January 2024. And lastly, in terms of Peka Bridge, also to Lesotho, the normal hours is 8 until 4, and we are then requested to close at 6. That is on the 23rd and the 24th of December, as well as on the 2nd and the 3rd of January 2024. Now, in addition to all of these issues, we will be deploying additional 380 additional personnel to the selected busiest ports of entry to assist with the delivery of services, as well as the provision of technical support during this period. There are also a number of senior members from the Border Technical Committee who have been allocated individual ports for their visitation during the identified critical dates to support the operational teams on the ground. After engagement with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, they will be providing additional infrastructure such as temporary lighting, ablution facilities, special temporary barricades, JoJo tankers for the provision of water to the travelers at the identified critical land ports. In addition, generators with appropriate uninterrupted power systems are well serviced, ready to provide the required energy during instances of load shedding. We have also deployed additional IT support teams to various ports immediately to address any kind of system glitches experienced on the ground. Now, during the execution phase, as indicated, starting on Wednesday, the 6th of December, our primary focus for both exit as well as the return legs of the phase, we are to improve efficiency and effectiveness of the actual port operations. We will also be focusing on curbing illegal movement of persons and goods with specific focus to cross-border organized criminal elements and other general crimes perpetrated in the ports of entry and border law enforcement area. We have also put measures in place to detect and confiscate narcotics, contraband, illicit goods, and even stolen vehicles. We therefore want to urge all travelers to desist from committing any act of criminality, as they will be detected, arrested, declared undesirable, and then deported. On the corridor leading to the land ports of entry, we would like to urge all drivers to desist from disregarding existing traffic laws, including not observing the instructions from the traffic officers on the ground, as that has the potential to cause traffic jams, which poses serious challenges in terms of traffic flow to the port of entry. This has been our common problem in this regard, particularly on the N1 towards Beit Bridge border post to Zimbabwe, and also on the N4 corridor towards Libombo border post to Mozambique. We therefore encourage drivers to follow the queue, and in no time they shall be assisted. On the immigration matters implemented by the Border Management Authority immigration team, we would like to implore all travelers leaving or entering South Africa to ensure that all their travel documents are ready in order to avoid any unnecessary delays at the ports of entry. This includes being in possession of machine-readable passports, relevant visas where applicable, permits for specialized goods, plants, animals, vehicle insurance, and or bank authorization for vehicles for cross-border movement where vehicles are still financed. Further, travelers are reminded that their passport should have at least an empty page on it in order to enable the BMA immigration team members to accordingly stamp the passport as required. This message is also relevant during the return leg in January 2024, as all travelers are expected to present themselves at the designated ports of entry to enter South Africa. In case one gets selected for an interview, travelers are urged to cooperate with border management officials. Further, parents traveling with minor children are reminded to carry their children's unabridged birth certificate unless the minor child's details are endorsed in the passport of the parents. However, if one parent is traveling with a minor in the absence of another parent, a consent letter from the absent parent will be required, granting permission for the other parent to exit the country with the minor child, as it were. This requirement is mainly applicable to South Africans intending to exit the country with minor children. Further, the Border Management Authority would like to remind travelers that we are in the process of rolling out the installation of the new biometric movement control system across our ports of entry in collaboration with the Department of Home Affairs to replace the old enhanced movement control system. The BMCS is a secured contemporary traveler clearing system which requires the capturing of biometric data of travelers. In terms of port health functions, being done by the border management officials, port health team, having been integrated from the Department of Health, we need to emphasize that all arriving travelers must expect to be screened on their arrival at the port of entry. The travelers arriving from yellow fever endemic areas are required to have their yellow fever certificates at hand. Further, conveyancers from yellow fever and malaria infested areas must ensure that conveyances coming to South Africa are accordingly disinfected. Further, travelers should also note that some parts of Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and KwaZulu-Natal are endemic of malaria. Therefore, in order to prevent and minimize mosquito bites, travelers are advised to use insect repellents, bed nets, wear long-sleeved clothes as well as socks, especially after sunset. In this regard, travelers can use anti-malaria medicines such as chemoprophylaxis where prescribed. As the Border Management Authority would like to urge travelers presenting signs of illness to present themselves or report to the BMA Port Health Clinic on arrival at the port of entry, or else they can visit their nearest health facilities or their private doctors for consultation. In this regard, travelers are reminded to inform their health practitioners of the travel history during such consultations. For those carrying health-related goods such as food, medicine, hazardous substances, and or cosmetics should make the necessary declaration at the customs counter at the port of entry. As for travelers transporting human remains, including ashes, they must be in possession of import or export permit issued by the National Department of Health. In terms of the agricultural and environmental biosecurity matters done by the colleagues within the Border Management Authority, having been integrated from the Department of Agriculture and Environmental as indicated, this festive season is characterized by increasing volumes in the number of international tourists as well as traders. Therefore, this reality presents a risk for the introduction of alien invasive species as well as foreign pests associated with plants or plant products, animal products, and or other regulated goods from other countries. Therefore, travelers are urged to take caution in terms of their luggage, in order to ensure that they do not unconsciously introduce alien invasive species into South Africa. However, travelers coming into South Africa should also avoid bringing prohibited agricultural products, including animal products such as meat, honey, as well as other regulated products. These kind of materials can only be imported into South Africa through a proper import permit and should be declared with the BMA agricultural as well as environmental biosecurity experts at the port of entry before entering the country. In fact, both travelers and commercial importers should be advised that BMA agricultural and environmental biosecurity inspectors do conduct luggage and consignment inspections at the port of entry by means of visual and also through sniffer dogs to ensure compliance to the import permit requirements. Therefore, prohibited products will be confiscated and destroyed, or else they will be returned to the country of export. Legally, anyone who decides to disregard the law will face the fine of up to 20,000 rands or imprisonment. Over the years, we have experienced serious challenges during the return leg of the execution phase, particularly as some of the travelers avoid presenting themselves at the designated port of entry and instead decide to illegally enter the country through the borderline. During the return leg of 2022-2023 festive period, we noted instances where some Zimbabweans moved into Botswana and attempted to enter South Africa through the RSA Botswana borderline in an attempt to avoid interception by the deployed border guards in the vulnerable segments of the RSA Zimbabwe borderline. As such, we would like to send a stern warning to all individuals who are planning to illegally enter South Africa through the borderline, as the border guards, working together with members of the South African National Defence Force, will be waiting for them on the borderline. Further, the BMA will also like to discourage officials facilitating the illegal movement of people and goods through our ports of entry. We have adopted a zero tolerance on corrupt tendencies among our own officials. Up to this point, we are investigating about 18 cases of misconduct perpetrated by our officials, and about 8 officials have been sanctioned for dismissals thus far. Considering the expected high volumes in this festive period, we would like to also appeal to travelers to consider using less busy ports of entry where possible. For instance, the travelers going to Mozambique can consider using the Mananga port of entry rather than Libombo port of entry, since both ports carry almost the same exact distance to Maputo city. Although the demobilization will be done on the 19th of January 2024, the overall intention of the BMA is to consolidate these festive gains and adopt the sustenance approach from the 20th of January 2024 onwards. This is meant to sustain our border operations and ensure the sustainable provision and consolidation of border management functions going into the future. Further, the BMA has already deployed members of the Coastal Guards to the critical areas of our coastline in order to start consolidating our work in the protection of the country's marine resources. Further capacity will be deployed in the vulnerable segments of the borderline during the year 2024, when the 400 trainee border guards complete their training intervention. Further, processes are underway with AMSCO for the procurement of drones, speedboats for the coastal guards, body cams, and other critical tools of trade that will enable the border guards and the rest of the BMA team to do their work better. In conclusion, we would like to reflect on some of the key successes of the Border Management Authority since the pre and the post-transitional period during April 2023. Up to this point, we can indicate that we have been able to intercept about 44,461 individuals who were attempting to illegally enter South Africa without any requisite documentation. We got them arrested, we got them fingerprinted, we declared them undesirable, and we got them deported on the spot. Further, about 100,452 individuals overstayed in the country. We got the hit from our movement control system when they arrived at the port. We then declared them undesirable, and we then banned them from entering South Africa for the next 5 years. About 98,150 individuals were refused entry into the country for various reasons. Some of them were criminal elements who are listed on the Interpol list for having committed different types of crimes in other jurisdictions in the world. A total of 2,243 individuals were arrested by border guards for having committed different types of crimes around the port of entry as well as the border law enforcement area. They were then handed over to the detectives of the South African Police Services for further investigations. Further, we were also able to detect about 279 high-valued stolen vehicles and one trailer as the perpetrators were attempting to exit them out of the country. We also handed them to the SAPS detectives for further investigation. We were also able to detect and intercept about 396 blasting cartridges as the criminal elements were trying to enter them into South Africa, which are fairly used for the explosion of cash in transit vans across the Republic. At the Kosi Bay port of entry, for instance, in northern KwaZulu-Natal, we were able to intercept individuals who were carrying 19 tower batteries as well as 4 solar panels that were stolen from South Africa in the KZN area en route to Mozambique. We got the individuals, 2 individuals arrested, and we handed them to the detectives of the SAPS for further investigation. About 641 kgs of dagga was fairly intercepted, mainly in our border with Eswatini as well as Lesotho, which was fairly destined for South Africa, as it were. Our environmental biosecurity experts at OR Tambo International Airport were also working with the officials from the South African Revenue Services as well as the South African Health Product Regulatory Authority, intercepted 8.1 kg of rohypnol, which was concealed in a consignment of dried fish. This drug is commonly known as the date rape drug, which is mainly used to the unsuspecting individuals, putting it in their drinks, making them confused, and doing all sorts of things on them. As we move towards concluding this reflection, we also want to touch on what happened just last night. A sting operation has been conducted by the border guards, the Home Affairs Anti-Corruption team, as well as members of the SAPS at the Beitbridge border post just this night. They were able to stop and search about 42 buses trying to enter the Republic, and out of that we found 443 children under the age of 8 that were in those buses without any parent or any guardian. Fairly, they were being trafficked into South Africa. We were able to take them out of those buses. We were then able to engage with the Zimbabwean officials, and we handed them back to Zimbabwe for processing back into the country. So, colleagues, this is the summary of some of the key successes of the Border Management Authority having been realized in a short space of time. We, however, commit to do more and fully address the country's perennial problem of porous borders as pronounced. Lastly, we noted a policy decision by the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, to extend both the Lesotho as well as Zimbabwe exemption permits to 2025. We will, however, await an official directive on this matter from the DG of the Department of Home Affairs, Mr. Tommy Makode, and we shall accordingly implement that instruction at the port of entry accordingly. As the Border Management Authority, We would like to wish everyone a safe and pleasant festive season. We are at your service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that statement. Colleagues, as you can hear, the border management has been hard at work in terms of intercepting some of the criminal activities that are happening at our ports. And now we have also outlined the requirements for entry and exit into South Africa. We hope that you have taken note. And just to say that the statement that the Commissioner has been reading is available. We have shared it already with the media in the online platforms. We do have hard copies here in the room, and it is available. We will make it available on email as well.